So I'm talking to Dr. Don Vaughn, who is head of product at Invisibly. Invisibly is a polling and surveying mechanism. It gives you live, almost real-time results, it sounds like,
Yeah.
with incredible degrees of accuracy. So we've been looking over some of the research that Invisibly sent over and want to talk a little bit about that. But first, maybe a little bit more about what Invisibly's position is in the marketplace for market research, because as you just mentioned, there are a lot of antiquated methods out there. There are a lot of people using crazy newfangled methods, but they just aren't giving effective results. So what is this? What's the secret sauce, if we can talk about it,
Yeah.
that's behind Invisibly's accuracy?
So market research is a tough thing. As a scientist, I always had a tough time. How do you get an accurate sample? If we're going to test people, how do you get 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 responses? And so I essentially am building the tool that I wish I had when I was back in the academia in order to ask people. So market research is done in a lot of ways. You can drive people to your website. Maybe they end up doing that. You can ask them in person, although that's obviously gone down a lot. Text messages, lots of different ways. What Invisibly's secret sauce is we are able to do market research at scale by embedding ourselves across tens of thousands of different publications, newspapers and journals and things that you've for sure read online. So we get that really nice reach. And that's the key to having an accurate sample. It's showing up on both Fox and CNN and getting both sides, and because both people are going to weigh in on the issue. So our secret sauce is really digital distribution when everybody else is still using phones.
Still using analog. Interesting, interesting. So we looked at some research that, and I'm going to try and get this right, but you can correct me if I don't, where you polled American consumers on their, I guess, their feelings on corporate values
Yeah.
and how that plays out into their choices in purchasing.
Yeah.
What were some of the most interesting things you found in that?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things I'm sure as an exec is just that sometimes you have to make decisions that seem to just add to your, cost structure, but and they have a benefit, but you can't quantify it. So for example, you want to raise employees' wages. Okay, well, I know how that impacts my cost, but how's that going to impact my revenue? Open question, harder to justify those kinds of decisions.
Sure.
We partnered with a company called Verity that's trying to draw a mathematical link between the types of actions that businesses take and what kind of brand equity that creates. What are people willing to pay for your product because of the way they behave, independent of the product itself? It's about you. And so one of the things that's interesting around there is how much you pay your employees. And so we partnered with Verity. We used our real-time research product. We got over 1,000 responses, I think, in a day or 2 days. So really quickly, that's our real-time aspect. And we said, hey, are you more likely to shop at a store or with a brand that pays its customers $16 instead of $12, or more during COVID? We asked it a few different ways. And we found overwhelmingly, yes, that 72% of Americans are more likely to shop at a brand because of how they treat their employees. Totally independent from low cost and good delivery options and all the things that you care about. We're seeing this shift that more and more and more, because of the internet and transparency, how companies treat their employees, that comes out. People care about that stuff. They know they can have one-on-one relationships with your employees as friends and family and readers of their content. So it does matter. And it's a pretty strong relationship, 72%.
Yeah, I'd say that's huge. So as it turns out, corporate citizenship is an important factor in the decision making.
Yeah, and I'm just going to put in a piece of, I did neuroscience research for a while. So we actually did a study on this. We put people in a brain scanner and we said, okay, they would read what people did. So people would we would do either what people did or what brands did. And what we found that was so surprising is that your brain does not tell the difference between a person taking an action and a brand, because you didn't evolve that machinery. We've only been thinking about corporations and brands for hundreds or maybe 1,000 years, and the idea of companies. So like you think of them as a person.
Right.
So when
Right.
a
You
corporation wants to
personify it.
add
Yeah.
that same disgust, that same wanting for revenge, it's all there. Like when some, an airline treats you badly, you don't, oh, that's just a corporate structure. No, you get pissed.
Right. Right. Interesting. Be fun to look deeper into that because there are so many, and frankly, we interact with a lot of these companies who are trying to figure out brand affinity and brand loyalty beyond just purchase metrics. What are the feelings that go into a purchase decision? It's not all rational. In fact, it's probably only a small portion rational.
Yeah, you'd be a great neuroscientist. That's exactly it, which is, there's multiple axes that people make decisions. Some of it's rational, for sure. Usually relative prices. We know brains are only good at the relative price. We don't know in abstract if a toaster is worth $400. It's
Yep.
the other model's only 200, so you'd make your decision. Then there's this emotional axis. How do you feel at the moment? Did they give you a good vibe when you're talking with them? Absolutely factors in. Emotions aren't an accident. They're a real part of your brain and they're there for a reason. And then there's this third axis of social stuff, which is that you might buy stuff because your tribe trusts it, and you just outsource the fact that well, they do it, and I'm part of the tribe, so I do it.
So I don't know if that's all Verity's work or if that's research that Invisibly has, but regardless of who's putting it out, we're interested in seeing it and talking more about it in future versions of it. The other thing I wanted to bring up is some other research that we saw from Invisibly that had to do with how parents are kind of tracking vaccines as it relates to their child's safety. And I looked at this and just because of I think the culture I personally live in, and where I happen to live and breathe, it looks one way, but there are big parts of the country that feel vastly different from the way I do. So you want to
Yeah.
comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, it's really interesting, So again, it's just, with Viz, we have this real-time research product. We can put out surveys and get responses, thousands of responses in a few days. And so one of the ones we've been doing just to find kind of keep our pulse on what's going on is, are parents going to vaccinate their children? How comfortable do you feel? And, for your viewers listening right now, what do you think? And what percentage of America do you think is actually going to do that? And it turns out the number is 26% of parents plan to get their children vaccinated immediately. So about a quarter are actually going to do it right away, which is not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of this wait and see attitude. And
Yep.
we've been doing this real time research over the last 4 months to track vaccine hesitancy. It used to be about 50-50 that people are not going to get it. This is for adults. And that number's gone down as information campaigns and no one they know have gotten, sick. But look, there's a reason why people are hesitant. These vaccines are all safe, and then blood clots, these little very small risk comes out, and so there's these things that do come out, and so there's a lot of hesitancy around kids.
And these are your kids after all. There's no more important item in your life really to care for. So completely understand that.
Yeah, and it's like an active thing. You could have actively hurt them, or you could have actively saved them. It's just a tough decision. So my empathy's out there with other fellow parents. What's interesting about that, Mike, is that it actually varies with your kid's age. So, if you're 0 to 5, only about 9% would do it, and if it's 6 to 9 years old, it goes to 10%. 10 to 13 goes to 18%, and if you're a little older, 14 to 17 years old for your kids, up to 24%. And then again, 39% won't vaccinate them at all. So you see this increase as you feel it's maybe safer for your children.
And I don't know if this was tracked in your research at all, but are there, and this might be too dangerous to ask, but are there geographic differences? Did you track geographies? Did you track political leanings? And that's really dangerous. So let me just retract that one. Forget that one.
No, it's good. I'll without, I'm a scientist, so I'm probably somewhere in the middle. I'm just watching both sides do their thing. So with real-time research, you can get data down to a zip code level. So we often partner with political consultancies to see in which zip codes is their candidate doing well or not well, so we can sort of do that micro targeting. And same thing here, you can break it out by geography. I didn't do it on this survey, but I have found in similar surveys about COVID, it breaks down as you exactly and strongly as you think it might break down by political affiliation and geography based on all the stereotypes around that. It tends to shake out that way. Another thing that's maybe something I could talk about specifically is that it also varies a lot on parent age, which is that younger parents.
Kidding.
Yeah. Oh, it's striking. It's this beautiful down. As a scientist, it's a beautiful line going down. It's very clear that if you're 18 to 24. 63% of those individuals are likely to get their kids vaccinated as soon as possible. And that goes down, when you're 55 plus, that number goes down to only a quarter. So it really is very age dependent that younger demographics, younger parents are much more likely to get their kids vaccinated.
So I listen to statistics and research like this, and beyond the fact that this is just fascinating stuff, the next questions obviously are what can you do with this? And I think if you're willing to, come back for follow-up conversations. I think it'd be great to talk about some of the research that you're working on, and then maybe bring in some other people who are in charge of making that actionable and trying to create a holistic conversation around the incredible insights that you guys find, and how we can derive better customer interaction, better brand loyalty, healthier populations out of it. So
Absolutely. I had a great time. Thanks for having me, Mike. And there's lots more to be talked about.
great. Thanks a million, Don. Vaughn is head of product at Invisibly. Thanks a million. Look forward to the next time we can do this.